Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to show you guys how you can make $500,000 with specific Grayscale trusts that we currently think are undervalued and have not had their biggest moves yet. So with that being said, let's get it. So in addition to talking about these particular trusts, and I'll show you guys what those are in a minute, and also the factors that would need to come into play in order for this to happen. We're going to talk about those here shortly after we get through the numbers and trusts. So with that being said, let's get it. So as you guys can see here, the peak, as stated in the previous video, 510, current price about $44. So how much of a return would that give you? So you get $510. Oh, sorry, my bad. So let's actually go over the trusts first that are undervalued. So in my opinion, LTCN is still heavily undervalued. HZEN also still heavily undervalued. BCHG not so much anymore. I mean, it is getting kind of, not expensive, but definitely not cheap. As you guys can see, the low here was on 92 cents. If you could manage to pick this up at the zone down here, somewhere around the $10 to $12 range, I would say it's probably quite a bit cheaper at that point. You still get at least a minimum 5 to 6x, so that's not too bad. I would say ETCG is still very cheap, and I would also say that Zcash is still very cheap. So these four in particular we're going to go over. So LTCN 510 divided by the current price, $44. So you get about 11.6x. So if we do 500K divided by 11.6x, you'd need roughly about 43,000 invested into this fund for it to go up to the high in order to get that $500,000. So we actually have the capital to be able to do this, but we're not going to do it at this current price because we have a trading rule, and we've mentioned this on our channel before, where we try not to buy something that's already running in the profit because there's literally infinite opportunities in the markets to make money. We just don't want to buy something that we think is already getting a little too up there for us to want to buy more of it when we could just buy something else that's undervalued. That's just a personal rule. You guys are free to do what you want. So that's what it would cost at the surface just to make that $500,000 to get back to the all-time highs. Now, if we did the Fibonacci retracements, so the 1.618 would be right around $830. So that itself would be actually a really nice return. Even just that would be a great return from the current prices. You're talking about a 19x, roughly about a 19x. So $500,000 divided by 19x, you'd only need roughly about $26,000 to get to that $500,000 mark. Now 1350 would be the next fib level. So 1350 divided by about a 44x, you'd need about 30 and a half, or that'd be about a 30 and a half x to get up to that fib zone. So $500,000 divided by 30.5x, you'd be looking at just over $16,000. So we're actually going to go into the top fibs on this video because it's possible they could get up there, but again, there's a lot of things that have to line up for that to happen. So, and we also don't have a lot of previous history to be able to look at to determine whether it's actually possible for LTCN to get up to this level. So 1870 would be the next level. That's the 3.618. So 1870 divided by $44. That's 42.5x. So that's a really, really good return. So divide that by 500,000. You'd be looking at just basically only about 11,000. So, I mean, that's a lot of money for a lot of people, but if you're disciplined with your finances, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So we'll just say this one's 2170 as the top fib level. So 2170 divided by the current price of $44, you'd be looking at just over a 49x. So 500K divided by 49.3. Basically, you'd only need roughly about $10,000 to get to that $500,000. So now, in terms of HZEN, I think this one's actually a little expensive at this point compared to LTCN. I still think LTCN is cheaper when we compare the previous cycle high to the current price, but we'll do the math anyways. So 30 divided by 7.79 is the current price, but at 3.85x. Oops, actually did not mean to do that. So there we go. So 500K divided by 3.85x. You need roughly about 130,000 to make this a possibility. So we'll go over the next fib level. So next fib level is, we'll just round it up and say $50. So 50 divided by 7.79. So 6.4x. You need roughly around 78,000 to get that $500,000 mark. So let's see, next level, $78. So 78 divided by the current price. This is basically bang on, pretty much going to be about a 10x. So yep, 10x. So simple math here, you're probably going to need about 50K to get to that second Fibonacci level. So $107 on the next level. Divide that by the current price. So 13.7x. Divide that into $500,000. You'd only need roughly around $36,500. Now to get to the top fib level here, which is about $125, you would get roughly about a 16x. So 16x is still good. I mean, shoot, a lot of people think that a 5x or 10x in crypto is good. In my opinion, anything above a 10x in crypto is really good. When you get to like 50x, 100x plus, I mean, that's like God level money in crypto. So, right. So we got the 16x, get the $500,000 here divided by 16. 31, basically 31 and a quarter is about what you would need on that fund. So we can do BCHG, although this one is a little bit more expensive in my opinion than HZEN and LTCN, just in comparison to the previous highs. So I'm just right off the bat going to say that this thing from current price to the highs is going to be about a 3.25x. That's pretty much what it looks like. So we'll do the math on that. You'd basically need about 153,000 to get to that point. However, if we measure the fib levels here, you can see that they're way higher than where the previous high is. So 102. So we got 102 and 165. So 102 divided by the current price, 18.3. Basically a 5.6x. So just under 90K on that one. Next level is going to be 162. So 162 divided by the current price, which I think is going to come out roughly to about an 8x. So, okay, so about a 9x, 8.8. So divide that by 8.8. You'd need roughly about just under 57K. So $226 is going to be the next level. And we'll divide that by the current price. 12.3x. So divide that by $500,000. You would only need about 40,600. Again, that is assuming that it's actually going to come up and touch these fib levels. Considering that we've already gone as high as we have before the halving event, I would say, assuming that we actually still have another huge leg up and the cycle remains consistent with previous cycles, meaning that the end of the bull market is not going to come until the end of next year, I would say that it's definitely possible to at least get up to the 1.618 or 2.618. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, even the 3.618. So top level here, roughly about 260. So 260 divided by 1830, 6 of 14.1x. So that again is actually really, really good for crypto. It's very hard to find that kind of return in stocks. I suppose if you go with penny stocks, it's much more possible, but that's also higher risk because there's a bigger chance that it could go to zero. But again, anything going to zero in stocks is very rare. So just over 35K on that one. So Zcash, the peak is at 40, current price 660. So 40 divided by 660. So it's about a 6x. You'd be looking at about 83K on that one. So we'll do the measure move here again from the Fibonacci's. Now, we could go over all of these Grayscale trusts, but truth be told, after looking at all of them pretty closely, I would say that the four cheapest ones right now, the ones that could potentially have the greatest asymmetrical bet, would be LTCN BCHG HZEN and Zcash. That's just my opinion, of course. ETCG is kind of in that realm too, but I mean, yeah, ETCG is kind of in that realm as well. But again, ETH Classic, the underlying token, has run a little bit more than Horizon has as an underlying token. Horizon's barely moved at all. It has like a 12x to get back to highs, whereas Ethereum and Ethereum Classic have already started running up. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so first fib level is at 64 bucks here. So we'll just round it off, say it's going to be about a 10x, which it pretty much is. So divide that. You get roughly about a 50K investment is what you would need. Next level 102. Divided by current price, 6.6. You get about a 15.5x, which is, I mean, that's a great return. If all I got was that on, let's say, I don't know, a couple $1,000, I mean, I would not be complaining about that. So 32, roughly about 32 and a quarter is what you need on that level. 140 would be the 3.618. So 140 divided by 6.6, 21.2x. So 21.2x, 23,500 is roughly what you'd be looking at on that. And then the top level is 164, roughly about 164, divided by the current price is going to be an excellent return. So this is almost, we'll just round it up and say a 25x. So that divided by 25, you'd be looking at just only 20K. Now, 20K is a lot, I know, but I mean, there's a lot of ways to make money, guys. You could go out there and get a second job. You could work more hours. You could work part-time. You could start a side hustle. You could do a lot of things. You could day trade, buy dividend paying stocks, do options, have an e-commerce business, Amazon FBA business. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's endless opportunities and ways to create money to get the capital. So the best time, in my opinion, to start accumulating these is during a crypto bear market. If you guys are new to this, then we'll show you guys, we talk about crypto almost every single day on this channel. If you guys follow our channel, you will know that we have shown you when the crypto bear markets roughly are. But if not, just hit the notification and subscribe bell and hit the all button so that way you guys keep up to date as we go into the future. We will be, of course, talking about crypto in the next bear market. So if you guys are still around then, we will show you, when is the perfect time to get in. It'll cost you a lot less money to get in. There's a lot more upside. I mean, if we just take a look at LTCN, really zoom out here, LTCN at the bottom of this thing was about $2 a share. And at the absolute high, I mean, you almost can't even measure it. It's crazy. So at the high of this thing, it's nearly $2,200. I mean, if we just do the math on that, guys, if you had gotten in at the bottom and sold at the top, you're talking over 1,000x. Let's just say you got a 500x. 500x, crazy number, right? But it is possible in crypto. So this is all you would need. You need $1,000. That's it. So again, timing is everything. It's important. It matters. But these are the numbers that you would need for basically to get to $500,000 on what we consider to be currently the cheapest Grayscale trusts. As of right now, again, these numbers could change in the future. It's possible we have a massive pullback in crypto and then the Grayscale Trust dump, and then you guys are going to get your golden buying opportunities. We are too. We'd have to reassess the numbers at that point, but it's possible that that could happen, and then it could make it a lot cheaper to get to that point. That is also a possibility. And we're pretty sure that a bear market in crypto is coming eventually. It's just a matter of when, because it's always happened. That's the way it's been since Bitcoin's inception. And we're kind of really not expecting that to change. So in terms of our personal investments, so we have an average cost of about $13 on LTCN. Okay. And so yeah, I think it's actually about 13.3 or somewhere in there to be exact. And then of course our initial investment here. Whoops, that was actually really wrong. Okay, so anyways, so our initial investment is this amount. It's at about 13.3. So if it goes up to the top Fibonacci level for us, you guys can see we'll get a massive whopper 158x. So that's absolutely insane. I hope that happens. But we'll just have to wait and see and be smart about it. So you guys can see here, we would make way over this target we're talking about right now. And in terms of BCHG, we take a look at the top fib levels here. So really got to zoom on this thing. And BCHG, we actually have a much, much cheaper average price at $4 than we do with LTCN. So much, much lower price. So the top fib level is $260. So 260 divided by 4, that would give us a massive 65x return, which is huge. That's 6,500%. Just so y'all know, the stock market, the S&P on average returns about 10% a year. So, I mean, do the math. I mean, what is that, like 650 years worth of returns or some crazy number, 65 years, 650, something like that. So anyways, we'll show you guys what that potential number could be. This is our initial investment here times 65. So yeah, it would definitely be pretty good. So now let's talk about what we would need to see in order for this to actually take place. Okay. Meaning, when are the biggest moves coming in the Grayscale trusts? Well, there's a few things that need to line up. Okay. Number one, we need to have the Bitcoin halving. As we showed you guys, if you follow us on X, you would know this. If you haven't, go ahead and give us a follow. You can find that on the channel. But we did recently post the Bitcoin halving clock. So we have roughly about 2 weeks until the halving. I think it's actually less than that at this point. It's supposed to be around the 18th of this month. But the Bitcoin halving needs to happen first. Okay, that's the way the cycles work. So there's a markup phase into the halving. Then we kind of have a pre-halving retracement into the halving, and or a sideways chop after the halving for roughly about 4 to 6 months, somewhere there. And then towards the end of the halving year, Bitcoin runs up. Okay, so that's the next thing that needs to happen. First the halving, then the sideways chop and or up and down for about 4 or 6 months. Then towards the end of the halving year, Bitcoin will run up into new highs. Okay. Once Bitcoin tops out and Bitcoin kind of chops sideways, this is what we're looking for. Bitcoin goes up, it does its thing, then it chops sideways. Let's say it tops out at 200K, chops around sideways, doesn't do much of anything. The next thing that we would need to see after that happens, and it may not necessarily happen in this order, this is kind of just the general order that we would need to see. The next thing that needs to happen is Bitcoin dominance needs to fall off a cliff, meaning that money is moving out of Bitcoin and flowing into altcoins. That's what happens when the Bitcoin dominance goes down. And the inverse is true. When the Bitcoin dominance goes up, money moves out of altcoins and or Tether or USD or something like that into Bitcoin. Okay. Money generally moves into Bitcoin and or stablecoins during a bear market, and it moves first from stablecoins or fiat, whichever, into Bitcoin at the start of a bull market, and at the top of Bitcoin's move, it flows from Bitcoin into the altcoins. Generally, when that happens, we would see something like this. That's obviously not a very good line, but you guys get the idea. We would have a sell-off in the Bitcoin dominance, and then that's when the money would flow into alts, and altcoins will start popping off. And that's most likely when we're going to get the biggest moves in the Grayscale trusts. Kind of like you guys see here on this microphone pattern. Once we got close below that, I mean, this thing just dumped off a cliff as Bitcoin topped out and it chopped around sideways. And then that's when the market started popping up. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to show you guys that on the Bitcoin chart here real quick so you can see this in real time. So we'll go back to the 1 week here. Kind of really got to zoom out because, Bitcoin is like super parabolic during bull runs. Okay, so let's actually get rid of this. I don't know, we'll just throw some random thing on the chart to get it off there. So anyways, let's go back here real quick. Got to move the Bitcoin dominance over a little bit so we can see this in real action. So, okay, so price of Bitcoin goes up, right? Price of Bitcoin goes up. You guys can see the dominance is going up. And then as Bitcoin's getting ready to top out, right here in this area, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance on the left is already starting to move down. And as Bitcoin's going to the moon, the Bitcoin dominance falls, and that's when money flows into altcoins. That's generally what we're looking for in terms of the Grayscale Trust starting to pop off. And in my opinion, we could still be a ways away from that, but we are in this bearish rising wedge pattern. We are sitting at resistance without an actual breakout above it. And it's just a matter of time before we get the breakdown and the money flows from Bitcoin into altcoins. Once that happens, that's when, in my opinion, the biggest moves in Grayscale are going to happen. There's also one other metric that I can show you guys here that also matters a great deal. So this is USDT Tether. This is basically the stable coin equivalent of the US dollar or whatever currency you're in. There is USDC, but we take a look at Tether more because I think it's actually more relevant to the market. A lot more people use USDT than USDC, so it is kind of the dominant stable coin. But pretty much every time this thing goes up, that means that money is moving from Bitcoin and altcoins into fiat. So you guys can see in this 2022 area here, when the Tether market was at all-time highs, that's because money flowed out of crypto into stablecoins because, again, crypto was dumping. We were in a bear market. Altcoins and Bitcoin are losing value. Now that the crypto markets have been going up, money has basically flooded back from Tether into Bitcoin and altcoins. This is what we're looking for. But in my opinion, the real move is going to come when we get a breakdown below this trend line, if it happens, which again, this is a long-term trend line, but with the spot Bitcoin ETFs at play now, it's absolutely a possibility. So anyways, this is our video on how you guys could potentially make a $500,000 with Grayscale trusts that are considered to be relatively cheap right now in comparison to their peers. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see y'all later. Peace.